All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today's Wednesday, October 26th, 11:06 this morning. Just to go ahead and go around, we have attendees already ready to get started with today's meeting. So we have Tafina Tadanepa, Trisha Spoon, Tom Brown, Matthew Campbell, um, and who else do we have? I'm sorry.
Mark Williams.
Mark Williams. And I think that's all we have so far. I know Bernadette is on her way. I'm sure Michael and Quentin will drop in pretty soon. So we're just going to go ahead and get this started. So if you haven't already, um, for those who are using the computer to join us for today's meeting, I'm going to have a few things on display here. However, if you're not joining us by computer, I'm going to do my best to. You're not going to miss out on much this meeting, but in future meetings, um, just to advise you, any display materials that I'm using, I'll also include in the link. Uh, if you go to the TEDNA.org website in the About tab, Native Youth Community Project subtab, and then there's a list of other tabs that'll fall below that. It'll grow as we continue on with the project. But under that, there's a meetings tab under NYCP. In that meetings tab, you'll see uh, a set of numbers that'll correlate to the date and the agenda. And if you click on that, you'll be able to pull up the agenda and see all the information needed. The agendas will always have the conference materials inside them, as far as the go-to-meeting link and any pertinent dial-in information. Just to make sure I got audio going well for myself, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, just going to go ahead and follow exactly verbatim to the agenda here. Um, we'll go ahead and set aside Quentin's remarks for his date as soon as he joins. Um, but rolling into the information that I got for you for this meeting, there's a lot of things going on right now. A lot of moving targets, like I've spoke to many people. I'm excited to say that not only did we finish out our first year of implementation, um, looking at some of the major data points and haven't fully looked at all the aggregate data in terms of what we've collected in terms of observation and student participation in our ACT Engage, our Me posters, our college career readiness nights, and any other implementation we've had or communication we've had developed with each of the local sites, particular to the schools and the staff and administrators. Um, Looking at the overview of what we've done in year one, it seems like the first half of it was easily characterized as how do we how do we implement and how can we come up with a strategic approach toward laying the foundation for the next 3 years or 3 years and a half past the first 6 months of the grant. There was a late start there that did have residual effects later on down the line, and these are things we are all aware of at different levels. But looking at the sorts of data we've collected in totality for year one, um, I'm really proud of all the work and the pretty much quick uh, job that both Tashina Tadanepa and Brookie Beasley, who's no longer one of our specialists, but the work that she put in, the work that Anita Pasitopa, our new, well, not really new anymore, but our education specialist with Muskogee Creek Nation. Um, it was all possible because of them being one on one with the local sites and just getting things moving and engaging with those students. And the hardest task for me to kind of understand was what makes an activity um, engaging, and how can you hold the attention of students without knowing what kind of day they're going through that day or what kind of situation they're in. So um, it, it's really their participation has strengthened my approach as project director for the entire program. So implementation to date, we finished up year one. We're into our first quarter of 2017 fiscal year. If you look at the agenda, there's a link on the left of uh, item number B in program implementation to date. That link will once again take you to the TEDNA website under NYCP schedules, and you're going to see a table of of three different columns. Those.
I mean,
Good morning.
you know,
Those columns are going to be three different things. One is that any sort of planning or somewhat of a formal setting that we have in regards to planning for the next quarter implementation, I at least wanted that information documented. So the first column is the planning weeks and any sort of notes, any sort of substantial targets or information brought to the program. Um, and eventually, as it's formalized into the schedule, the next schedule, you'll be able to kind of see that development and that growth. So the second column is the actual schedules themselves. And this column is you see Schedule A and Schedule B. Um, the actual schedule for Schedule B is it's a three-quarter implementation. So, like I said, October 1 is when we started first quarter of fiscal year 2017. So Schedule B covers October 1 through December 31st, 2016 for our first quarter. And then that far right column on the right is just a description. So, what are the major takeaways in terms of what's covered in each of these schedules, and in terms of deliverables, expectations of the specialist, activities present, um, and any sort of, for the lack of a better terminology, there, lesson planning for these activities. So, I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with what the Schedule B looks like, but just in case you aren't, just going to run through this. The Schedule B is a 12-page document that it's not fully comprehensive, but I'm sure it'll improve as we go from quarter to quarter. But what it highlights is a set of key activities that we want to implement in each of our local sites for multiple reasons. Each of our sites have varying circumstances. Some schools we don't. What we already understand is some schools we don't have a lot of time to implement our NYCP objectives in. So we have to work with the confines of the day schedule. Some schools have moved to a 4-day week. Some schools can only give us a 20 or 30-minute advising period. Um, some schools, however, on the other end of that spectrum, are giving us a full classroom and a full day to do NYCP objectives and activities. So if you look at the spectrum from not a lot of time to plenty of time, this implementation schedule is intended to be flexible enough that we can focus in on some key activities, and those activities are present in page 3 of Schedule B. Page 3, there's a list of 6 activities to go over. There's some key activities, and they're key because they produce particular data points that we want to cover in terms of the ACT Engage and those academic behaviors, and the ACT profile in terms of career exploration, all intended to contribute to this creation of the college career readiness plan. So these are six activities. We're going to see how quarter 1 does in terms of us completing all six of these activities. If this seems if it seems harder, and winter break is almost around the corner. It's December 15 through 16 for most of our sites. Um, Depending on how well we perform and progress with these six activities will let us know if we need to remove two activities or add on some activities as we go along into the next quarter for January, February, and March. But beyond that, the page 4 of Schedule B goes over a list of planning sessions that have already been in movement. We've already completed um, 3 of the 5 planning sessions for the next quarter. One, we've talked about bringing in guest speakers and who we could reach out to provide motivational support messages for the students. Uh, we've had a planning session around involving fulfilling our GIPR number 2, our increased community collaborative efforts in the forum for NYCP, TEDNA NYCP 2015. That's in the form of these CCR nights and bringing in tribal language programs and or tribal cultural programs um, to fit in and add on to the enrichment of CCR vocabulary in the actual tribal language, or looking at culture and how that relates to the CCR readiness. We further talked about college career readiness nights. We've solidified some dates for our CCR nights. Tashina, if you're on, what are those dates again for Darlington? Okay, oh, I don't think I have her. Well, I wrote it down. I don't have it in front of me right now. But Darlington Public School with El Reno, we're going to combine the two to have a college career readiness night with Shiner-Appo tribes. Anita Pasatopa, our specialist with Muskogee Creek Nation, is also working on identifying that college career readiness night. That'll give us an after-school activity to do multiple things with the students, focus on some activities, as well as do that parent engagement and look at um, assisting and giving information to the parent and walking them through not only what the program is about, but some of the long term things or intentions with the program as far as these deliverables and objectives. So the rest of the document is pretty straightforward. Page 5 is just deliverables from central office in terms of how we're looking at data management, our intention to improve our communication, improving our program governance, and increasing community collaborative efforts. Page 6 through 12 is all, well, 6 through 11 is all the lesson plans and looking at each of these activities. And I encourage you, if you haven't already, to look through these. This is what we're kind of starting out with. These could change, but it's going to be familiar to this format where we have activities, deliverables, planning, and implementation, larger implementation timeline in terms of a quarter. The very last page of that is links and key information related to not only the activities, but any critical forms, catalogs, PowerPoints, surveys, instructions, prompts, as well as our grant proposal. If you haven't, if you need to see that again to see how this all relates to the grant proposal, that's also linked in on this Schedule B. Um, so that being said, going back to the agenda, um, we have a few things where that I wanted to mention in terms of um, how we look in the next as the time leads up to December. Um, the good news is that Northern Cheyenne Tribe, Lover T. Erickson and Norma Bixby, we've been informed that there's a specialist that will be starting November 1st. We have also been informed by Tricia Spoon that a specialist has also been acquired, but currently going through that HR process right now with the hiring. So that's good. That would mean sometime before December, um, or hopefully before the end of November, we we're in a situation where we can officially say we have 4 out of 4 specialists with the program, and uh, we're moving in all sites to different degrees at different paces for multiple reasons because this is a locally informed implementation. And the needs are all different, but there are critical aspects of our implementation that are going to bring in and support overall support systems for the students. So that's good news. By the end,
Julian,
yes, ma'am.
this is Norma.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, I was just wondering, I can't get on your Go To meeting. It won't come up on my computer.
Oh, it
So
won't.
I just,
Okay.
but just let you know I am here.
Sure. You're welcome.
So,
I appreciate you. Well, I know we did have some other folks jump in. Could you please announce yourself? They're probably on mute.
Julian, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Bernadette.
Okay. Bernadette
Okay.
Anderson,
All right. Yes.
Norma.
But I think Mark's on the line as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
He's joining us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So awesome. Awesome. Anybody else? Great. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, Bernadette and Norma. Glad to have you with us. Um, and Norma, I can offline. I can um, call you if you have time, and we can try to get that figured out. So the next round of the go-to meeting, it'll be much smoother for you.
okay, yeah, it doesn't come up. The other thing, I was wondering, it sounds like we're pretty confident that, sorry, I have a cold. Our Ed Spec will come on November 1. We've got the advertisement out, and so, but I told Loverty just go ahead and put her on.
Mm-hmm.
But she still has to go through the tribe's process for hiring.
Sure.
And so that's 10 days, but I told her just go ahead and put her on. And the other thing is you will send the computer and the cell phone to her, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Loverty?
Yeah.
Put her on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as I was aware that there was a specialist in movement, my first reaction was I need to send that MacBook with all its arrangements and that phone, which the plan is already on there. There's already a data plan. It already has an account set up. It already has
Oh,
all of the like Word, Excel. I'll install the GoToMeeting and Skype, and I've already set them up with the Google Drive and folders so that once I get this item, they're ready to get connected with us.
they're ready to go, huh? Okay, great.
Yeah, and
Oh,
to that, I have to say, Tashina and Brookie were my guinea pigs, and having learn all the ins and outs of MacBooks because I'm not a Mac user. I'm a PC,
oh.
so that was a challenge for me too. Um, but it's grown on me. I hate to say that, but it's grown on me. Um, all right, so back to the agenda that we have. An upcoming meeting that we got going on, and beyond using the TEDNA website for schedules and meetings and minutes and recordings, um, upcoming events, that's one thing that we're going to work on as well. But one upcoming event that we have for the program itself is at October 31st, the 2015-2016 NYCP cohorts will be meeting together with OIE to do a full day's worth of looking at challenges and successes and any sort of presentation that our program would like to give about implementation and progress. Um, Now, each program is only given 5 minutes, and I'll be attending as representing the project. But then also I'll have with me Mr. Greg Anderson, the Secretary of Education, with Muskogee Creek Nation, and he'll be accompanying me and providing insight and any comments if he would like. So just so you're aware that that's going on, I'll be flying out on the 30th, come back on November 1st. Beyond that, we're going to have a little bit of a, I don't want to say blackout, but there's going to be I will be out of reach. I'll be out of the office from November 2nd through November 9th. And in midst of that, Chloe Roughface will be here at the office, and she'll have some knowledge, some working knowledge, to be able to answer any questions, and at least give you any information that we've worked on to date, because she has access to our Google Drive. And if there's any materials that anybody needs, hopefully it's already in that drive. And she'll take any messages, she'll take any information that needs to be passed down to me if you would like to leave something beyond an email. You're always welcome to email me either way. So that's a lot of information. That's a lot of me talking, and I don't like to do that. So we have another 30 minutes left of our meeting, and I'd like to go into section 4, core member topics, feedback, opportunities to speak if present. If you're not listed, there's a guest present, not listed area, which you're more than welcome to also chime in. So we're going to go ahead and start with our Tribal Education Department Directors. Tricia, I know you're on the line. Norma, I know you're on the line. So Tricia, you can go first, and feel free to give any feedback, topics, or anything you'd like us to focus on. Tricia?
Okay, thank you. I don't really have any specific topics. I think I'm just really excited at this point for having someone coming on to fill this position. I've tried to maintain contact with the school and just, when invited to activities, attend those so that I can keep that communication open. I really enjoyed your presentation at NIEA. I wanted to add that. It was a lot of good information and stuff that I, didn't really know about from the other tribes. So that was encouraging to hear that there were a lot of students that had participated so far. And I know that our new hire came yesterday to do the paperwork, but like I said, they haven't actually gave me a date yet, a start date.
Sure.
So I'm assuming it'll probably be within the next couple of weeks at the latest. So hopefully next week sometime. But I think that's all that I have.
Well, great. That's great news. Well, I'm just excited too. I know, I know you're ready to go, and I know Little Axe is eager to at least bring somebody in. So I'm glad. I'm really glad, and thank you for just being so present and being part of the program. So appreciate it. Norma, Norma, you're recognized.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad we have someone coming on too, finally. Actually, she has a master's in special ed, and she's been teaching in, I believe it's Arizona, so she has a good background. I just feel bad that we can't pay her more than the $15 an hour, but I'm glad that's $15. But I think she'll be a great addition to the school. And of course, Loverty's already got the classrooms designated for TEDNA, and she's put aside a room for to do the read-write, and does have an aide working in there right now. And so we're just waiting on the Chromebooks to see, and that's going to make life a lot easier once we get the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
And get started on those. And so Loverty's been doing a really good job without the ed specialist, and hopefully once we get her on board, then we can start doing the other ACT, and I believe she's also doing some Con Math as well. So she's keeping the program pretty much going at Northern Cheyenne School, and so I'm looking forward to our new person coming on and really getting in there and doing some other activities, and then our program will be coming in to work with the kids once we get schedules going and get things worked out so that we can have some time with the kids as far as doing some college readiness activities with them. So I think we're going to probably, hopefully before the holidays, be able to get in there and meet with the kids. I know she's got the parent group up and running too as well. I think we're still encouraging some parents to attend, and so she's got that group up and running and trying to get parents excited and involved in the process. So that's kind of my news.
Well, that's all around great news. That's I'm just excited. Now that I think about it, what's an appropriate address that I can send the MacBook and the phone to? Do you want me to send it to your office, or do you want me to send it to the school?
Why don't you go ahead and send it to my office, and then I could just take it on over to her.
Okay.
That'll give me a chance to meet with her in Loverty.
Okay.
And I think Loverty has enough background with Mac that she could. I don't know what. Ingrid's background as far as computers go. Hopefully she'll turn in her application so I can get a better look at her credentials.
Sure.
And her strengths are.
Sure.
And but hopefully she'll already have some training in Mac as well. Can get up to speed pretty fast. Yeah.
Well, if she does need help or just some guidance on that, I think between myself, Tashina, and Anita, we could probably work together on doing most of that troubleshooting. And I know that the IT gentleman, I think his name's Richard, over at the school, he might be of a good service for us too.
Oh yeah,
to
him as well.
Yeah, to physically walk us through most of that stuff. Okay, wonderful. Anything else? Okay, all right. Any other TED directors on the line with us? Okay. Not hearing any. Dr. Michael Pavel, our external evaluator. Okay. Dr. D. Tadlock, read write, or Mr. Tom Brown. Okay. Mr. Mark Williams, Bernadette Anderson with Academic Development.
Excuse me, Julian, I forgot to unmute myself. This is Tom Brown.
Okay.
If I have just a couple minutes, I'd like to say that the D is working with Loverty currently on scheduling students. We're very excited to get started on that program with them, and we're very interested in reaching out to the other 3 tribes. And I think one of the things that I really hadn't realized until a few days ago was how limited some of the school opportunities are for having time for tutoring students, or even having time for anything to do with the read-write program. So I'd like to work with you, and Dee would also like to work with you on finding times and places for students to have tutoring. And we feel a sense of urgency about it because we know that once the students improve their reading comprehension, all their other coursework will be a lot easier. Okay. But we also know that if they're being tutored outside of the context of the school day, it's often hard to get people to volunteer and show up and be part of the program. And we know too that the people that do it as many days a week as they can, back to back, will get in their 60 sessions and have an impact right away. If they try to do this with a meeting a week, it not only takes a very long time, it doesn't provide the level of satisfaction that keeps a student engaged. So we're hoping to work with each of the tribes to come up with a schedule that works for you folks on the ground and really accelerates your students' learning. One other thing I'd like to say is a big thank you to Julian for setting up this website access to all the documentation and the status of things and the archiving. I think that will help me and Dee particularly to stay on top of how best to integrate with and support the entire NYCP effort. So thank you for that, Julian.
Yeah, no, I appreciate those comments. Dr. Tadlock has been already reaching out, and we appreciate all those meetings that she's setting up for us. And our intention is to, as quickly as we can and as quality as we can as well, identify those students to complete those, who can really have that commitment and who can really, really get connected and just take advantage of an excellent program, Read Write. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Tom. Next, Mr. Mark Williams, Bernadette Anderson with Academic Development Institute.
Thanks, Julie, and we're so grateful to be on the call as well, and echo Tom's praise for this interface with the GoToMeeting, as well as having all this documentation in one place. So well done. And I'll hand things over to Bernadette here in a second, but wanted to also let you all know that the different materials and photographs from the two competency academies this summer in Oklahoma and Montana are up on the ADI website. We've just sent that information to Julian, and so he also can make connections between the TEDNA website and those materials as well. And with that, I'll pass things over to Bernadette, who's been working very closely with Julian and the specialists on an event for this November.
Oh, thanks, Mark. I guess I can start with I'll be there in, unfortunately, Mark's not, let me start with that. Unfortunately, Mark's not going to be able to join us in November because of some previous travel commitments, but we're going to spend time, I believe it's the third week of November, or not the third week, well, I guess it is somewhat. November 15th and 16th, we'll spend going through some lesson planning, professional development. It'll be some strong work time where we'll actually look at what's being proposed and then actually begin to develop some plans, some unit planning, and we'll look at the metacognitive personal competencies as one of the strategies we'll zero in on and looking at the different parts of the work. Listening to the gentleman about the Read Write, I think that I want to get a little bit more up to speed on how that works too, because I'd like to maybe when we get done with the professional development be able to articulate myself a little bit better and be able to share how that all's fitting together and flowing together, so that hopefully, and by this time next year, we'll have some stronger unit plans or lesson plans that actually capture the fullness of all the efforts that are going into this work. So I'm really excited about learning. So anyway, that's kind of, we got more plans. Julian and I kind of talked about what we're going to do, and I'm going to, and Mark and I are going to meet and kind of finalize a couple of days of agendas and send them out before Julian leaves, so that you'll have that before that big day.
Great.
And Bernadette, I'm glad to say too that our online system will be up and running by then, so we'll be able to introduce the ed specs to that as well.
Good, good. And so we're just really excited about this work, and we're looking forward to this year and what we're going to be able to provide in terms of support from ADI.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, just to comment on those, looking back, and I know it just seems like it was not too long ago, August 18, 19, and when we had those personal competency trainings, Mark and Bernadette just really make everything fun. They tone it down in a way that gets a point across that this is serious content, this is a lot of content, but then they break it apart to where it just makes sense and make it engaging, worthwhile. So we appreciate you guys and ADI for being a partner with us. So going down into the next line item here, item E, 4E, Mr. Kevin Houchin or Mr. Steve Kapler with ACT. Okay, 4F, Mr. Jerome Tosi with Native Innovations. Okay, 4G, Mr. Matt Campbell with Native American Rights Fund.
Hey, Julian, I don't have any updates or anything to add, just listening in.
Appreciate it. Item 4H, Mr. Matthew Higdon, Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. Okay, and 4I, any guests not listed? Anybody else who hasn't had the time or the chance to speak who would like to make a comment? All right. Well, we really ran through those items there. I don't believe Quentin is on the line with us this morning, but before making any final thoughts, give anybody the opportunity to have make a comment or a question. Any last questions before we wrap up here?
Julian, is there any time, this is Norma,
Yes.
is there any time that we'll all be getting together again for a face-to-face meeting?
Yeah.
Is there any to do that?
Yeah. So we definitely want to do that. I have not had the chance to identify a date that we want to have this meeting.
Hoping that you give us a date soon, so that we can put it into our schedule.
Right. Okay. So that's one of the things I'll start thinking about, how we can not only develop that schedule but then solidify those dates. I know this year it was January 10th and 11th. That was, I want to almost say last year, but it was still this year. But next year's face-to-face meeting might possibly be that same kind of window, that middle January window. But I'm going to go ahead and focus on those dates and get those ready for you.
Yeah, that would be great. That way we can schedule them in, because meetings are already starting to take control.
Yeah.
Calendars.
Sure. Thank you for bringing that up.
Julian, this is Tom. Could you run through the how you get from TEDNA.org to the NYCP pieces?
No, absolutely. Okay. So if you're watching with the display, I'm going to do both at the same time. So if you just go to TEDNA.org, it'll load the main page. There are some tabs to the top right of the main page. There's Home, About, Resources, Media, Upcoming Events, and Become a Member. The second tab next to Home is the About. You'll want to use your cursor and hover over it. It's going to open a list. Don't click on anything. You're going to want to bring your cursor down to the Native Youth Community Project. Hover over that tab, and it's going to open another list. And right now, there are 3 tabs: Meetings, Implementation Schedules, and Data Upload. For right now, I could imagine that core members, most people right now, would only need the meetings or implementation schedules. The data upload page is specifically for the specialists to upload data to us. But from that, was it the schedules or the meetings that you were needing?
No, this is exactly what I needed. Thank you, Julian.
Oh yeah, no problem. Not a problem. So yeah, if you click on the meetings, the meetings page isn't fully developed just yet, but after this, there will be a recording with this meeting that the specific file, the recording file, will be a part of this page. So you'll have the agenda, and then imagine another column to the right of it that'll have this recording, so you could look at that, as well as minutes that are recorded from Chloe, who's also joining us today. So, and the same goes for implementation schedules. the planning week, any notes from that, and then the attached schedules for actual implementation, and then the general description. So, all right. Well, we're going to go ahead and end this early. That was pretty fast. Final thoughts on everything. I appreciate everybody's commitment and participation, and just working with the program and doing what you can with almost sometimes seems like a limited amount of time, or just time's just flying by. So appreciate you guys. The next standing core meeting will be November 9th. That's 2 weeks from now, November 9th. So, and you should have all of those calendar invitations. If you don't have a calendar invitation for those, just let me know, and I can email you and get you included on those invitations. So, other than that, thank you everybody for joining, and talk to you guys later.
Okay, thanks, Julian.
Thank you, Julian.
Thank you, Julian.
Mm-hmm.